So welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker today, who happens to be the man on the screen with me, Toby Rao. Toby has many years of Agile experience, in addition to founding this and another meetup around Agile. Toby has founded his own company called Tora Solutions. He's been doing this for about 25 years, working with in the federal space as a consultant and as a coach and other things. I'm sure, Toby, that you can fill in for me, but a lot of experience. And I'm really looking forward to Toby's presentation today. Toby, with that,
thank you, Mike.
I'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah. So I think this slide says everything about my experience. So I've definitely been around the block, and I've always tried to learn new things with every job that I take up and challenge myself. And I think now is the time where it's really helping me, because different experiences from different organizations and different styles of management, different sizes of organizations, all those help when you become a coach, because every day is different, every situation is different, and every client is different. And when you expose yourself to a wide variety of challenges and problems, just makes you better at that. So I'm really thankful for a nice career so far, and I'm looking forward to having this presentation in which I'm going to reflect on many of those experiences that I've had. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. So a little bit about this presentation. Recently at the global Scrum gathering, which happened in Washington, in the state of Washington, about 2 months ago. So I got selected to present, and this was the exact topic which I presented there, and got a lot of kudos from the attendees, so that was very encouraging. And I thought I definitely want to present it here locally here in Washington, D.C. And it just happened to be that we had a speaker set up for this month, and the speaker backed out, and told Mike, I said, hey, how about I present? And Mike said, sure, why not? So I'm one of the organizers of Enterprise Agility Champs, and so this is a great opportunity because I feel very connected with the people who come here. So very excited. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So transformation. So transformation is very different than your normal programs and projects, which are really focused on developing products and services and solutions for your customers. Transformation is all about changing the mindset of people, changing the ways in which you work, and a lot of it is leadership driven. All the transformations that I've been part of and I've seen my colleagues work in, they come from or the genesis of that is when leadership feels, hey, do our ways of working produce the value that we seek? Are we able to produce solutions, and are we able to deploy them in the marketplace in good enough time to reap the benefits from it? And when they see that the answer is no, they look for new ways of developing software or services or solutions that can be produced in an agile, iterative manner and delivered to the end customers and users. And that's where transformation comes in. So transformation by itself is not the goal. The goal is to be able to deliver in a more efficient, effective manner and solve customer problems. The software is there to solve customer problems and give them a better user experience. So all transformations are driven by leadership. The problem, though, is many transformations that I've been part of, or in fact, all of them that I've been part of, have been very hard and arduous, and at times appears, are we really going to succeed in this transformation? And that's because there are so many obstacles which get in the way. There is no transformation that I've heard of where everything just went smoothly and everything was just perfect, and they thought it's going to be 2 years and they finished in 2 years, and everybody happily lived after. That doesn't happen. That's a fairy tale transformation. It doesn't happen. There's always going to be tons of challenges. So the important thing to look at from a perspective that if you're going to think that it's going to be a vanilla path and everything is going to be perfect, it's never going to be that. So leaders must assume the accountability to drive the transformation. And as this quote, which says, I'm going to read it, quote, "To be relevant in today's professional world, you must lead change or change will lead you," end of quote. And that is very true. If you don't plan enough, if you don't strategize enough, you will be overwhelmed by events and you will no longer be in control of that. So leaders must assume accountability and responsibility to drive the change that they want to see in the organization. So everybody who's in the audience, is there anyone here who has seen that transformation is hard? Please put a thumbs up. Transformation is hard. It's tough. It's challenging. It's complex. It's complicated. And anybody who has been part of a transformation where everything went smoothly, I definitely want to talk to you. Okay, I see 1, 2 thumbs up. Okay, yeah. So most of the time, the transformation is focused on 3 aspects, right? It's people, process, and technology. But unfortunately, a lot of focus ends up being on the process and technology. And oftentimes, people don't think of the people or the human side of change. And since most transformations or all transformation is about mindset change, if you are not focused on the human side of change, everything that you do with process and technology becomes difficult to achieve. And therefore, transformation must be focused on all 3 and given importance to the human side of change as well. So what is a leader's role in the agile transformation? Unfortunately, uh, some of the transformations that I've been part of, some of the leaders, they feel that, hey, we have the budget, we have the funding for you, we hired new people who are going to be part of the transformation office. We do have the timelines established. All right, go forth and transform. Go forth and transform. Do you think transformation will happen? No, because transformation is something in which the leaders must be involved themselves. They set the vision for the transformation. The transformation team takes that vision and creates a roadmap for the transformation, and they select change agents from within, and they bring some experts from outside, either as contractors or as new hires, and they help with moving the transformation forward. But then if leaders do just that, which is fund it, give the people, and wash their hands off and think, okay, I'm going to come back in 1 year and transformation is done, it's not going to work at all, right? So this topic today is about leadership and what is a leader's role in transformation. And when I say leadership, it doesn't mean just the C-suite. It's more than the C-suite. It's anybody who is producing results through others. I consider them to be part of the leadership team. They are leading others in producing the results. Now, there are going to be a lot of people who are direct contributors, who hands on keyboard, they produce software or they help in producing the software in various ways. They're all part of the transformation, but the transformation office itself is where the leaders are. So I'm going to talk about what gets in the way and what can you do as somebody who's part of the transformation team, somebody who has a vested interest in the transformation. How can you help it move forward? So I'm going to let facts speak for itself. So this, what you see on the screen, is information that came in from last year's State of Agile report. So this is produced every year. I don't know why it's late this year. Typically, it's out by now. I haven't seen one. So this is still data from last year. And as you can see, the top reasons for transformation failing or Agile not being implemented or utilized, quite a few of these are related to leadership. The top one, not enough leadership participation, inadequate management support and or sponsorship. And then you see transformation is led by the technology organization and not as a partnership. Again, there is insufficient leadership there. So here's some data on the left-hand side as well. I'm going to quickly let you read it. But the highlights is that company culture and lack of management support is going to be a huge barrier. So what gets in the way? Have you heard of this acronym VUCA? So VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And this definitely plays a very, very important role in any transformation or any change for that matter, right? Volatility is really the nature and dynamics of the change and the speed in which the change happens. Uncertainty is when you are unable to predict what's coming in the future, right? There's a lot of things are going to be unknown. And complexity is just the sheer multiplex forces that are coming at you together. It's not just one change, right? When you're doing transformation, there are going to be people who are concerned whether this is going to succeed or not. They are used to doing things a certain way, and we are bringing about some changes. And there could be some resistance that's coming from the workforce. All of these things, when they compound, they really can become very, very complex. And then last but not least is ambiguity. Ambiguity is, I think of it as fog. I think of it as haziness, where information can easily be misread or misunderstood. So these are things that transformation definitely has. This is part and parcel of every transformation. So the question is, what can leaders do to help the organization while they're facing VUCA challenges? So the answer to that is VUCA itself. So what is called so VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, and you solve it with VUCA prime. So what is VUCA prime? So VUCA prime is where leaders, they resolve volatility through their vision. So the leaders remind people and they amplify the messaging about the vision. Why are we doing this transformation? What are some of the things that our organization can achieve through this transformation? What does the end state look like for us? What does the end state look like for all of you who are helping in this transformation or are going to be benefiting from this transformation? And they combat uncertainty with creating a shared understanding. So uncertainty comes from or is rooted in when people don't know why something is happening, what are the changes, what is coming down the pike. So creating a shared understanding of what might the transformation look like, what support do you have during the transformation, what does success look like. So sharing some of these with the people is really going to help. And then complexity is where they bring clarity, right? When there are questions, they answer the questions. They do town halls, and they improve the communication, and it brings clarity. When things become a little more clear, people feel more comfortable. And ambiguity is resolved through agility. You're not working on everything at the same time. You're working on prioritized actions and gaps, resolving those gaps and problem areas, and then slowly making your progress towards the rest of the transformation map. So VUCA is solved by VUCA Prime, which is done by the leaders. When the leaders are present in the transformation, the rest of the people feel comfortable, they feel informed, they feel confident, and that really improves the success of the transformation. So I had said in the beginning of our conversation that a transformation journey is long and it's arduous. And what happens is that people of the organization, they feel change fatigue. What is change fatigue? So change fatigue is when there are so many changes happening, one after the other, and they have to adjust to all those changes. They get tired of the changes. They're like, okay, is there an end to it? We cannot continue doing it this way. So leaders must keep that in mind and understand that people do get tired when a lot of change is happening continuously for a long period of time. And leaders can help with that by creating the vision, sharing the vision, and really being caring and using emotional intelligence, being present, answering questions. So these are some things that leaders must do. I want to talk a little bit about some change management um, frameworks. The one that I want to present to you first is a very, very simple one. And I really like this because it's so easy to understand, especially around transformation. Um, so there are three phases of change. Your first is your current state. This is the state in which your organization is today. Chances are it's not meeting the expectations of the leadership, it's not expecting it's not meeting the expectations of the marketplace, or the effectiveness or efficiency that you have in producing software or solutions is slow. And in this fast moving marketplace, by the time you produce something and put it in the marketplace, you may not be getting enough sales, or there may not be enough people using it. So that's the current state. The interesting thing is that the people who are working in your organization are very comfortable in that, right? They've been doing it for a long time, and they've just become very comfortable in that. So we know that when change is introduced, um, transformation is a change. You're changing the way they think. The change is thinking. They're changing their thinking. You're changing the way they are working and producing, software. Um, But the future state is not fully known at this time, because you may know, your transformation team may know, but but the developers, the testers, the analysts, and the rest of the organization, they're not clear on what the future state looks like, because a lot can be lost in brevity, right? So they don't understand. So they are doing things a certain way. They're expected to do things in a different way, but they don't really grasp what it involves. So that transition from the current state to the future state is the transition state. In that transition state, there is a lot of chaos. There is also a lot of stress and anxiety, because they're used to doing certain things certain way, and now suddenly they're being asked to produce things in a different way. And a lot of times, the early stages of that transformation, they may not get immediate results. There might be a few iterations before they can start getting the value of whatever transformation they're doing. Let's say they're going from waterfall to agile. It takes us some time before they can start seeing the value of it, or they are able to look at the metrics and say, oh yeah, we have definitely improved here and here and here. It takes some time. So sometimes during that time they may feel that they're not doing a good job. So a lot of things can happen, but irrespective, it creates stress and anxiety. And I talked about this, right? The unknown. So um, this is where leaders come in, right? Leaders, since they have created the vision, they know what the end state looks like. By making that clear and visible to people and partnering with them when they're going through this stressful time to make the transition as less painful as possible is going to go a long way. People are going to, the people from your organization are going to feel much, much comfortable when the leaders are there with them, right? So with that, let's jump to the 9 anti-patterns. So now these 9 anti-patterns that I want to share with you today, that's the name, that's the in the topic today, right? 9 anti-patterns and 6 imperatives. So till now, what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about what transformation means, what is a leader's role in that transformation, talk about what the journey of the change might look like. And I think it's time now to talk about the 9 anti-patterns. So these 9 anti-patterns, I've not copy pasted from a book or from an article. These are things that I have experienced. And your perspective or your experience might be slightly different, but what I wanted to share with you was for things that I have experienced firsthand, and I want to talk about a few of those. And I also want to open it up for you to add in chat any other anti-patterns that you have seen in transformation. So what is an anti-pattern? Anti-pattern basically is any actions or any kind of activities that take place that don't produce the value or the results you're looking for, and is just a lot of work, or is just activities that take place, but the end result or the throughput is very low. And in certain cases, anti-patterns are also impediments that get in the way of the team achieving the goals and the commitments that they've made. So without further ado, let's jump to the anti-patterns. So the first anti-pattern I want to talk about is not budgeting or funding the transformation right. A lot of times, leaders may have been very successful in what they do in their normal role and the accountability and responsibility that they have, but they may not have gone through an agile transformation. And if they don't have the right information, or they are not, they don't have the right people advising them, they may not budget enough money for the transformation. And what ends up is the transformation starts well, and then they're short of money, and some of the people who were brought in to do the transformation may have to go to other projects, and then transformation comes to a standstill. So that momentum that was created is lost. So that's the first anti-pattern. So leaders must make sure that they set aside the right amount of money for the transformation. Otherwise, is going to fail. Um, what happened? Okay. Next one is not doing enough to communicate, inspire, and motivate. So a leader's job is to create that excitement. And if you're not doing that, you're stuck in your office, in your desk, and you're just looking at numbers, and you're not doing the Gemba walk, you're not talking to the people, that's an anti-pattern. Leaders must do that. The next one is not setting the transformation vision right. So if leaders don't set the vision right, the transformation team or the rest of the senior managers or managers may not be able to take that flame forward. So that's an anti-pattern. The next one we want to talk about using a command and control style of management. That's definitely a no-no in today's world. Nobody wants to be told what to do. You should inspire people, set the goals, and see how team members and the transformation team can take it forward. But if you're going to be autocratic, that's an anti-pattern. The next is not being proactive with resistance. Mark my words, any kind of transformation, there is going to be resistance. There are people who are not going to like the change. It's just human nature to avoid any kind of change if possible, especially when they're not clear of what the results are going to be. So definitely leaders must set aside or be aware that there is going to be resistance. The next is not playing their part in leading the change. So I talked about this, so I'm going to skip this one in the interest of time. The next up we have is not empowering the transformation team. So you brought in a bunch of coaches who have done transformation in other organizations. These are the experts, either change management or coaches. But then if you don't empower them and every decision has to go through the top leaders, that's an anti-pattern. Next is ignoring culture. Um, Peter Drucker once said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the best strategy in the world, the best plans in the world, but if you don't understand the culture of your organization and you underestimate the impact that culture can have on any kind of change that you're going to make, that's really going to derail your transformation. So not understanding culture is an anti-pattern. And last but not least, failing to promote learning. So, and I'm going to talk more about it in the next few slides in the imperatives, but transformation is about changing the way you perceive things, changing the way you react to things, changing the way you do things together. Um, so if during this change process, when people are confused, if you're not coaching them, or if somebody's not mentoring them, or helping them to understand the agile ways of doing things, and I'm not talking about certifications, I'm talking about learning. So if you are able to create a learning organization where everybody's learning together and sharing the knowledge with others, it contributes to the success. And failing to do that is an anti-pattern. Um, does anyone have any other anti-patterns that you've seen as part of the transformation that you want to put in chat? Oh, I see some. Installing agile practices without aligning the organization structure to being agile. Absolutely. In fact, especially frameworks without really understanding the culture. Absolutely. Doing the same old thing, but using agile parlance. Yes, we are doing stand up, therefore we are agile, right? Copy pasting transformation from perceived success cases. Yes, Om, you're absolutely right. People have blindly tried the Spotify model, and that doesn't work. Mike says leaders occupying key agile roles because they don't trust the people. Oh yeah, we've seen that. Alessandra says not bringing new leaders into the fold effectively. Um, Especially if they're new hires to replace oh, very, very good points. Oh yeah, Peter Woolley, new roles with old description, same people, no change. Absolutely. So this happens all the time where you bring project managers and say, hey, from from next week onwards, you're a scrum master. And you did not change their mindset. You did not change, you did not educate them, or you did not give them an opportunity to learn. Absolutely. Lack of no commitment. Absolutely. So excellent. Very, very good points. Very, very good points. All right. So let's jump to the imperatives in the interest of time. So I do want to point out, uh, that, this can be a very heavy topic, transformation and why you fail and what can you do differently to succeed. So I tried to add some humor to my slides. Um, and so each of the slides, you're going to have a little cartoon there. Um, So please do pay attention to it, because I just found those to be funny, and I thought it'll add to make some of these topics a little light. There are two excellent points here. Jim says not providing the business goals of the transformation and not identifying the business value streams. Absolutely, if you're not doing value stream mapping, and if people don't understand what business value they're going to get out of it, the product team, the business team, and pretty much anybody is not going to be interested. I've seen so many transformations, and the reason for that, when I spoke to the leaders, they said, well, we are the last department to start using Agile. Everybody else is doing that, or it is part of my goal for this year to bring in Agile. If I don't do that, I'm not going to get my promotion. So they are doing Agile or transformation for the wrong reasons. And do you think somebody who is just doing that because it's in their annual goal, or if they're going to miss the promotion, or they're the last department, therefore they must do the transformation, they're going to succeed? Chances are not, unless they take that seriously and they want to make that a success. Leadership sometimes also need coaching. Absolutely, leaders need coaching. And Farah says value stream management is still a gray area. Absolutely. All right, excellent point. So let's jump to the 6 imperatives. So what does the word imperative mean? It sounds pretty serious. So imperative really is things that a leader must do if they want their organization to succeed with the transformation. Transformation in general is a very, very expensive endeavor, right? You're bringing in a lot of people. For some time, you will see a drop in productivity before it goes up again. And that drop in productivity means that your revenue might be impacted for some time. Your users might be impacted for some time. So it's expensive. It's an expensive endeavor, and you must succeed. And to succeed, there are things that you must do. So these are six things that leaders must do if they want to succeed. And if we have time, I would definitely want to get some inputs from you to see if you have any additional imperatives that I may not have added here. Again, these 6 imperatives are coming from practical, hands-on experience from transformation, right? They're not from a textbook. They're definitely not from medium.com or LinkedIn articles. These are from true experiences. All right, so let's do this. So what are the 6 imperatives? So set the vision and communicate. And I'm going to go deeper into all of them. I'm just introducing the 6 right now. Next is fund the transformation. Third is be the change. Fourth is build accountability. Fifth is create a learning organization. And 6 is lead the cultural change. So these are the 6. So let's go through all 6 of them. I will take questions towards the end. And if there is a need, I can stay a little beyond 8 as well. So here's the first one. And I've kept the bullets very, very simple, straight. And as the LinkedIn post said, this is a no BS, no frills. So these are the 5 things from a setting the vision and communication perspective, right? So unless the top honchos, unless the leaders who are either funding or they're getting the funding for the transformation, or those are the people who are championing this transformation, their job, their primary job is to set the vision very, very clearly. Why are we doing the transformation? I think Om mentioned in his in the chat that the business value must be very, very clear. So that's the why. Why are we doing the transformation? So if you are part of a transformation and you go ask a manager, hey, why are we doing the transformation? I don't know. My manager told that we have to go through the transformation. We have to go from waterfall to agile. So we are just doing what they told us. So they don't understand the why. So understanding the why is important because it creates engagement. Um, Creating a sense of urgency. So most of the time when transformation is going on, it's not like you stop everything you're doing and let's transform for 1 year and then we'll start doing the work again. No, you're painting the train while the train is in motion, right? So creating a sense of urgency is important because most of the time urgent trumps important. And if you're not focusing on the important things and creating some urgency towards it, chances are it'll left behind and problems or other things get in the way. And then setting clear expectations, right? What will this journey bring us? What is your role in the transformation? Those are important things that leaders must um, clearly share that. And last is focus on communication and alignment. So every chance you get, leaders must amplify the message of why are we doing the transformation. And that just becomes the second nature of leaders. They're evangelizing that. And when other people hear that, they are excited about the transformation as well. So that's the first one, setting the vision. Next is fund the transformation. So I talked about it a little bit, right? So a transformation is not an event, it's a journey. But there is one portion of the transformation. So first happens the setting of the vision, setting of understanding what the roadmap looks like, understanding what the end state looks like, understanding kind of the acceptance criteria, right? What does it look like when we finished the transformation? Having a good understanding of that. And then bringing in the people. You're bringing in transformation specialists, change specialists, architects, you're bringing agile specialists, maybe somebody who's an expert in Jira. You're bringing a bunch of people. So that portion where a large number of people are now brought to the transformation, that takes a lot of money. And making sure that you have the funding is going to be very critical. Because as I said earlier, if you run out of money while the transformation is going on, um, the transformation loses momentum. It loses steam. People go back to doing what they're doing, and they might become lethargic when they're asked to come back. They're like, "No, I have deadlines. I have things to deliver, and you're asking me to join the transformation team. You don't even have money for it, right?" So making sure that you have enough for the value stream, and I think multiple people talked about the value stream. Farah talked about a value stream. So if you know the value stream of your transformation, make sure you have money for all of that. And then lean. So what does lean here mean? So just in time, doing things that really bring us value, prioritizing and working on the most important things first. Otherwise, urgent things will take away that money, or the money might get used for other purposes. Um, Next is change, right? Be the change. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. So if you want to see the world in a certain way, you should lead the change by first changing yourself. If you're not changing, people are not, right? I have an example to give is I used to work for a senior director. I was a manager at that time, and we were putting together a PowerPoint presentation to be shared with the transformation leaders. Um, so once we came out of the meeting, I got that action item to work on that particular PowerPoint. So I put together a straw man and took it to my senior director and said, here's my approach. What do you think about it? So he looked at the Word document and said, did I not tell you I was looking for a PowerPoint? And please don't bring me, scribbles. I want to see the final PowerPoint and then I will give you feedback. And I thought to myself, you're the person who is helping the agile transformation. You are the person who's helping people understand agile mindset, and you are a person who is not willing to give feedback. And you basically just dissed my my straw man, which if you had given me feedback at the straw man stage, it would have helped me to really understand your inputs and shape the PowerPoint deck in a way that it would have been very useful. So a lot of times leaders themselves don't do, and they are like, don't do what I do, you do what I tell you to do. And unfortunately, or fortunately, people are not stupid, right? When they see that, they understand that, okay, the leaders themselves are not being, taking on the change to themselves. They're just expecting us to change. So they lose engagement. So as a leader, be the change. You also start being agile, right? Decentralized decisions. Look at where the flow is stopping and resolving those problems. That speaks a lot of volume, and people will start following you more. Um, Recently, in the last 3-4 years, a lot of new ways of bringing about change have come. One of my favorites is micro habits. I have a talk on that. But micro habits is an amazing way to bring small changes in the way you think, act, and lead. And that's something I invite you to definitely think about. Emotional intelligence, which is Daniel Goleman's work around how do you come across to people. Do you have self-awareness of how you show up, in meetings or when you're responding to change or problems? If you don't have emotional intelligence, but you have a lot of IQ, which is your intelligence quotient, that's not good enough. So you have to develop emotional intelligence as well, which basically means, are you aware of how you come across to people? Are you making changes so that in communities, in gatherings, when you're working with other people, you come across as someone who's encouraging, who has the right soft skills. So that's about emotional intelligence. And the last one is about being transparent, right? Yeah, things will not always go perfectly. Things will fail. As long as you're being transparent and tell people, hey, we had a little failure here, that's fine. We learned from it. Let's brush ourselves. Let's stand up. Let's try again. So if the leader is willing to forgive, is willing to take less than perfect, and is transparent in giving feedback to others, things will go forward in the right direction. Yeah, so I'm seeing some comments here. Decentralizing decisions comes from trust. Yeah, Atomic Habit by James Clear. Absolutely. I mean, that book is a winner. Um, Definitely. Great feedback. Great comments. Thank you. All right, so let's move to the next one. Are you guys enjoying the cartoons, by the way? Okay. Um, the next is building accountability. This is extremely important. A lot of times, people who have moved from waterfall or traditional ways of leading change, or traditional ways of managing, um, there used to be a lot of accountability in those days, right? But when they come to agile ways of working, somehow that accountability gets lost, and sometimes it's not clear because we don't have hierarchical, like, triangles with who's the boss and who are the subordinates and who's below that. A lot of times in agile teams, you don't have that because agile teams are typically very flat. But just because it's flat, it doesn't mean that there is no accountability. There has to be accountability built in. So let's say that the vision is done. You've brought in select people from your organization who have performed in the right way, who have the right potential to drive the transformation. But then if you as a leader have not shared with them what is expected from them, if you've not shared with them what exactly they must do, and what happens if that is not done, if that clarity does not exist, chances are the people are going to do their day job. A lot of times transformation is where they do have their current job, and transformation is an additional part or of responsibility that is given to them. So unless accountability is built in, there is going to be slippage, right? So structural agility, what does that mean? Like, have you built the right structure in your transformation team? Is there accountability built in? Are there the right checks and balances? And one of the easy ways, no, I won't say easy, but one of the most effective ways of doing that is creating objectives and the expected key results. So the expected key results are going to drive some behavior change. They're going to drive some of the work and engagement that they're doing. So what does hold people accountable mean, right? So let's say that you have a one-on-one with one of your transformation leads, and let's say you're a senior manager, and you have your bi-weekly one-on-ones, and when you have a conversation with them, and the person says, so you ask the question, hey, how's the transformation going? And the person says, not really sure. I mean, we had a major release coming up, and for the last 2 weeks, I was just hands-on busy with that. I have not done anything with the transformation. So your natural tendency might be to say, "Sure, I understand," and just move to the next topic. But that is the time where you need to talk about saying that that's interesting, because in our conversation, it was a 60-40 split where 60% of your time is going to your project and 40% was going to the transformation activities. And what I'm hearing is that pretty much the whole utilization was towards the project. Um, so going forward, if any such demands come on you or any such changes come on you, let's talk about it. Let's not wait for 2 weeks, because we are really getting behind on our transformation. Transformation is very important for our organization. So can we do that? So have a conversation where you're saying any such changes, let's talk about it. Don't wait for 2 weeks. And when they see that you are really um, you're particular about making sure that transformation is moving forward, chances are they're going to pay more attention, right? Um, remove obstacles. Yeah. So if you understand where the stumbling blocks are, like the example I gave you, where this person was supposed to spend 40% of their time with transformation, leading the transformation, don't leave it alone. Go and talk to whoever accountable and understand why was this person pulled from transformation to do something else, and remove those obstacles. All right, so let's move to the next one, which is create a learning organization. um, so as I've said multiple times, right, transformation is about changing minds. It's about changing from a closed mindset to a growth mindset. So what is a growth mindset? A growth mindset is one in which a person has the power of thinking what's possible and has the power of imagining what can happen if attention and focus is given to the growth areas and helping others to grow. So it doesn't mean that you have to send everybody to a certification course. It means that you have to make sure that the people understand in the new transformed ways of working, what is it to be expected? What is it that they're expected to stop doing? And what is that is expected for them to start doing? So that's the education process. That's the knowledge transfer process that you have paid to pay attention to. Did somebody have a question? I heard a voice. Okay. Um, so make that a core organizational value, right? Set aside time for people to learn. Don't jam so much work into their schedule that they have no time to learn. Make sure whenever there is a success, help people who have succeeded in their project to share what helped them get that success and celebrate that success. That sends a lot of positive message across the organization. And then we talked about earlier, right? You bring in project managers, but you don't transform them. So changing project manager kind of thinking to, I am a coach, I'm a mentor. I'm not telling people what to do, how to do. I'm helping them set goals, and I'm helping them to achieve those goals, and doing that through coaching, mentoring, and also by being a good example. So I think I covered all of that. All right. So let's move to the cultural change part. So what gets in the way is the people side of change, right? When there is a lot of focus on just process and technology, and you're not helping the people who are going to lead the change, who are going to go through that change, who are going to actually benefit from the change. If you don't focus on them, your transformation is going nowhere, right? I talked about Peter Drucker, who said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast," and that's extremely important. So be realistic. Expect that there is going to be resistance. Absolutely, there's going to be resistance. Expect that there is going to be some chaos. Expect that there is going to be some level of plateauing. Your transformation is not going to be like, happy stories every day. There are going to be stumbling blocks. And then one of the favorite things that, not favorite thing, one of the most important things that a lot of people miss is this word called resilience, right? Building resilience into the team. So a simple thing, for example, the example I gave you with my senior director and the PowerPoint presentation and my straw man. If this person had looked at my straw man and given me feedback early, my end product, the PowerPoint, would have been of a much better quality. The experimentation mindset, saying that, okay, I'm going to do something, get feedback, then I'm going to work on the next session, get feedback, then I'm going to work on the final part. So supporting that iterative development, it could be a cultural change in some organizations, and you need to help with doing that. So paying attention to the resistance change, understanding the pockets from where you might be getting those changes or the demand for the changes or the small failures. So a failure is a stumbling block. A failure is not a blocker. So when failure happens, we need to come together and say, hey, I understand things didn't go well. Things didn't go well the way we expected. What can we do differently? Can we start all over again? So those are important conversations to have. And then we talked about emotional intelligence. Creating a flat organizational structure, that's going to be very important as well. So this is leading the cultural change. If you think there is not going to be any resistance, that's not going to be true. All right, so that brings us to the 6 we talked about. Let's talk about a simple change management framework. So we talked about a simple one, which is the current state, the future state, and the transition state, the most simplistic one. Quarters 8 is, I find it very easy and simple to understand, and a lot of agile organizations use quarters 8 and have seen success. Scaled Agile or SAFe has quarters 8 already incorporated into that. So let's look at what does that look like, right? So there are, in my presentation, I've taken the 8 and really broken them into 3 parts, right? The first is 3 steps, which are creating the climate for change. This is what leaders do. They create the climate, they create that sense of urgency, they create that environment in which change can happen successfully. So that's the creating the climate for change, which really is creating a sense of urgency. Bring together experts who can help move the change forward, and that vision for change is shared across the organization. The next block is what is enabling and engaging and enabling the organization. So you have the right people, you have a sense of urgency, you have created the vision. Now you're bringing people together and enabling them. You're supporting them in making those changes. And the last block is implementing and sustaining for change. So some of your projects have gone through this and have succeeded, or some of them have shown signs of success and they're getting there and you're supporting them. That's the time where you replicate that across the organization. Okay, so these are the 8 step. Quarters 8 has been for a long time. It's been around, but it's really pragmatic and easy to follow. So think about that when you're doing a transformation. So here's my call to action, and I'm quoting Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So there is no stopping, right? You stumbled, you fell down, brush yourself, we move forward, learn from it, but do something. So action is important. So if you are a leader, you're thinking about transformation, go for it. It may not be easy, but it can be done if it is planned, strategized, and supported the right way. So that brings to the end of the presentation. Here are some books if you want to learn further. There is also there is a certification course from Scrum Alliance. I'm not teaching this class. I'm not trying to sell you a class. I'm just saying that this is excellent leadership training if you're interested. And here are some books that you can learn from. And thank you. I'll open it up for questions. And if you wish to, please do connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Mike, back to you.
Thank you, Toby, and really a fantastic presentation. Really appreciate it. Definitely an important topic, and appreciate all that you've brought to the table today. Also appreciate everybody else and your contributions. I think it really makes for a really rich conversation when everybody contributes. So thank you to you all as well. Toby, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point. We will, in deference to everybody's time and being respectful of that, we'll kind of end the official piece of this now. Toby has said that he can stick around a little bit if people do have questions. Sure. Keep going on that. Before we end, we want to announce our next month's activity or meetup. So it's by a gentleman by the name of Mark Spitzer. He is an agile coach and trainer and speaker and consultant. Also been doing this for a long time. He's going to talk to us about catalyzing leadership growth with OKRs, or objectives and key results. So we look forward to having you back next month. Hope you'll join us. And with that, we'll stop the recording and we can take some questions if you have them.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Thanks again for joining us, everybody.
So.